The past 5 years have been filled with some of football's most significant rule changes. Some are for safety reasons, and some are knee-jerk reactions to a certain play, and others are due to nobody understanding what a basic action is in football. Today, we will be looking at the three most impactful rule changes in the past 5 years. But before we get into it, I do have one honorable mention. Back in the 2015 offseason, the rule of the extra point being moved back was passed for the purpose almost solely to make the game more exciting. In the past, a touchdown would essentially be worth 7 points instead of 6 because of how easy it was to make that extra point. It was so easy, in fact, that kickers made 99.3% of attempts. After the rule changed, the percentage dropped to 93% the following year. Clearly, the rule was effective and changed the game of football. I just didn't think that there was enough to talk about it and give it a full section. Now let's dive in. What is a catch? If you ask me that question today, I would say a catch is when a receiver receives the ball in his hands, he then gets both feet down in bounds or any part of his body, controls the ball, and or makes a football move. If you asked me this question before 2018, I would probably not know the answer, and I would debate it, just like these former NFL players.
You got to get into the you know what? Just hold the ball and don't let it move. But that makes no sense. I catch 100 balls on the jug machine before practice every single day, and I know when I pluck the ball and I catch it, if it's good or if it's not good. If you double catch the ball and I'm going to the ground, there's no control. But if that ball comes to me and it sticks, that's a catch.
Okay,
if it sticks,
right,
and I say 1, 2, and then I go to the ground and the ball moves a little bit, it's still a catch.
Give me the ball. It's not a catch.
That's a different rule.
Listen, because
we're talking about the catch rule.
You guys are always coming.
A catch before 2018 could be argued and the rule wasn't clear enough, even to the current and former NFL players. When it came to the regular fans, they didn't understand either. A survey conducted by SurveyMonkey stated out of 1,078 people that participated, 62% of those fans claimed to understand the catch rule, but realistically, only 3.5% actually understood. This is because only 22 participants could identify all the correct answers to what a catch actually is. The rule changed back in the 2018 offseason, where the new rule clarifications was unanimously passed. The rule eliminated the biggest problem with the original catch rule, which was the requirement to maintain possession of the football while hitting the ground. The rule also officially states that a catch is a forward pass is complete or intercepted in the field of play, at the sidelines, or in the end zone if a player who is in bounds A. secures control of the ball in his hands or arms prior to the ball touching the ground, and B. touches the ground in bounds with both feet or with any part of his body other than his hands, and C. after A and B have been fulfilled, performs any act common to the game, or he maintains control of the ball long enough to do so. So how has this rule shaped the NFL today? It has given everyone a clear and distinct guideline to follow when watching a play live or when a play is being reviewed by the officiating crew. It gives fans little to complain or argue about when a play is overturned or just doesn't go in their favor. It has also given people one of the biggest what-ifs in NFL history. What if Dez Bryant caught it? If Dez Bryant's catch was actually called a catch back in the 2014 divisional playoff game, the Dallas Cowboys would have been first and goal at the 1-yard line. The chance of the Cowboys converting that into a touchdown is extremely high. The combo of DeMarco Murray, Tony Romo, Jason Wynn, and Dez Bryant would have found a way to score. The most likely scenario would be Murray punching it in on first and goal from the 1. With 4 minutes left in the game, Aaron Rodgers would most likely go down the field and score because of the terrible Cowboys defense that year. Plus, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers already scored on the past 3 of 4 drives. The score at this point would be 33-28 with about a minute and 30 seconds left in the game. Now we have another big if about this game. If the Cowboys can score in this minute and 30 seconds, then they would win and face the Seattle Seahawks in the NFC Championship game. This would be highly probable given that the Cowboys' offense this year was extremely potent. It was ranked first in the league and was ranked top 5 in every offensive category according to PFF. So the Cowboys would eventually score and move on to Seattle. I think in this hypothetical situation, Dallas would have a repeat of Week 6 in the NFC Championship game, where they won 30-23. The Cowboys didn't even have their best offensive game against Seattle that year, and if they could have a good offensive game and a similar defensive game, they would win with ease. And to cap it all off, when the Cowboys faced the Patriots in the Super Bowl in 2014, they would win, which then spurs off a ton of questions like, does Malcolm Butler become a starter ever? Does the Seattle Seahawks Legion of Boom and company stay together? And where does the Patriots' legacy stand? And finally, does the Dallas Cowboys turn the second half of the decade into the 90s dynasty once again? The catch rule may be the most important rule change of the past 5 years, but the next rule was one of the most controversial.
Quick snap. Breeze. Pass is incomplete. No flag for Tommy Lee Lewis. Nikel Roby-Coleman delivered a hit. And the two officials talk to each other. Crowd's going crazy as there's no flag right on the Saints side.
The New Orleans Saints were on the Rams' 13-yard line and facing a 1st and 10. With 1 minute and 49 seconds left, it felt as though the game was on the line right here as it was tied at 20. Drew Brees snapped the ball and threw the pass to receiver Tommy Lee Lewis. Before the ball even reached Lewis, cornerback Roby-Coleman hit the wide receiver and committed a very clear violation of pass interference. Lewis, Coleman, the announcers, the fans, and everyone else witnessing the game waited for the penalty flag to be thrown, but that flag would never come. The fallout from this non-call would be wild. The Saints, the number 1 seed and the favorite to face the Patriots in the Super Bowl, would go on to lose to the Rams in that game. The Rams would then go on to only score 3 points in the Super Bowl against the New England Patriots and furthered the dynasty of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. The commissioner of the NFL, Roger Goodell, took 10 whole days to respond to the controversy. This only made fans of New Orleans more angry. The fans called for a redo of the game and they wanted to take this all the way to the Supreme Court, but these lawsuits failed. And the concept of a redo in the NFL is foreign to them, but it isn't foreign to the other popular sports leagues in America. The NBA had the Heat and the Hawks replay the final 51 seconds of a game, due to a mistake of a scorer ruling that Shaq fouled out of the game. The MLB can erase games that are impacted by rain if 4.5 innings aren't played. The NFL also has the ability to redo certain parts of the game or the whole game if need be, according to Rule 17 of the NFL Rulebook. In the following offseason, the NFL passed the reviewable pass interference rule. The rule stated that a ruling will only be changed if there is clear and obvious evidence that pass interference did or did not occur, and all pass plays are subject to review for pass interference, including the Hail Mary play. So did this rule change help the NFL? The short answer, no. This rule failed miserably. The rule was outed before the beginning of the 2020 NFL season. The NFL reviewed 101 pass interference calls or non-calls, but the officials only overturned 24. Two sources from the NFL officiating committee said that the true number of calls that should have been overturned was closer to 50. The officiating crews were unprepared and impatient for this rule. The officials felt that the rule was questioning their skill or rulings on the field, and of course it was. I believe that the refs were too prideful to let most of their calls be overturned and refused to do so most of the time. One of the biggest examples of this was the very first time that it was challenged. The head coach of the Houston Texans threw the challenge flag on the play, where the Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson threw a 33-yard pass in the end zone to DeAndre Hopkins. The cornerback, Marlon Humphrey, clearly grabbed the jersey of the receiver, bumped and grabbed him, and then finally went for the ball. It seemed like an open and shut case to everyone but the NFL officiating crew. They thought differently and ruled it a non-pass interference, the original call on the field. This rule was clearly a knee-jerk reaction to an unfortunate and unfair situation that is too difficult to change. We now move from a situation we can't change to something that we can, and that is a rule for player safety. CTE has been a hot-button topic for the past decade in the NFL, and the league has made attempts to improve the safety of the game to prevent this fatal brain disease. The Alzheimer's Association describes CTE as a progressive and fatal brain disease associated with repeated traumatic brain injuries, including concussions and repeated blows to the head. It can also lead to more brain diseases like ALS and Alzheimer's. Former NFL players that have been diagnosed with CTE have been seen to have off-field behavior issues, severe cognitive impairment, and a number of suicides contributed to the brain disease. In the game of football, blows to the head are almost inevitable, and there are very few things you can do to protect the players. One of those things that could be changed and has been changed is the kickoff rules. Research suggests that football injuries are most severe during kickoffs, and these injuries do include concussions. 33% of injuries that occurred during kickoffs were considered severe, and 20% of those were concussions. This is all while kickoffs only account for about 16% of total injuries in the NFL, but this 16% is more severe than the rest of the 84% of injuries. Back in 2016, a temporary rule was set into place to move the touchback spot after kickoffs and other free kicks to the 25-yard line. The goal for this rule change is to decrease the number of kickoffs returned. The returners may be more reluctant to bring the ball outside of the end zone because of the greater risk of being tackled before reaching the 25-yard line. NFL officials also concede that this may in fact increase kickoff returns because kickers may instead attempt to pin returners inside the 10-yard line. The other rule that was passed to improve safety was to eliminate the running start that the kickoff team would get before the ball was actually kicked. This would take away a portion of the danger factor of kickoffs, and that is to be able to run full speed at each other when in contact. Yes, both teams are still close to running at full speed at each other, but this rule is trying to limit the speed, unlike before it was encouraged. We have to ask the question now, did these rule changes improve the safety of NFL players? And yes, it did. From the 2017 season to the 2018 season, there was a 35% decrease in concussions suffered on kickoffs. NFL officials were clearly pleased with these results. While these results are good, they could always be better. What does the NFL Rules Committee need to do to increase the safety for the players? There is no easy answer, but what could happen if we eliminated the kickoff? We clearly would remove the play that is the cause for the most concussions in football, and that is on the plus side. On the other hand, though, there is a concern about a trickle-down effect. Special teams coach Joe DeCamillis says, quote, "You take out kickoffs, what's next? Is it going to be short yardage plays? Is it going to be, hey, we don't want to throw the ball in the middle of the field because it's a dangerous play?" End quote. How do you improve the safety of the players without ruining the integrity of the game? Ultimately, the answer will have to be left into the hands of the NFL Rules Committee, as they are the ones who make the decisions. These three rules have been some of the most impactful in NFL history, and they have shaped how we view the game today. I am interested to see where the next 5 years takes us and how we will look back as we are doing today. If you guys are still here at the end of the video, I want to say thank you. I really appreciate it. If you liked the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, go ahead and hit subscribe and click the channel icon. I do have lots of other videos that you can go check out. Check them out. Let me know what you think. And let me know what you think about this video down in the comment section below. I really appreciate you guys. This is NFL Empire. Peace.